Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome into Stacking Dubs. I'm your host, Chris Chin. I'm here to talk to you about how the Warriors jump out to a 2-1 series lead against the Houston Rockets. Great game at Chase Center where the crowd was rocking. You had Warriors chants sounding somewhat like Oracle. A superstar rose to the occasion yet again, and the Warriors showed some tenacity, especially on defense, shorthanded without Jimmy Butler. And you didn't really know what you're going to get out of this team, but you got 100% effort buy-in from the players, the coaching staff, the crowd, and the Warriors willed themselves to a hard-fought victory and out to a series lead. My immediate takeaway is, whether you think we are a championship contender or not, this type of win is one of those where a championship team can win an ugly defensive battle led by a superstar like Steph Curry. And these are the type of games that are so easy to let slip away. It'd be easy to let home court advantage in this series be wrestled back away from you. It'd be easy to get discouraged and just kind of make excuses that you're missing Jimmy Butler. You're starting I think probably a brand new lineup. I don't know if we've played this lineup specifically yet, and just everything's out of sorts. But the Warriors are able to rally behind their home crowd and get a huge win. Let's just start talking about Steph Curry, who, I mean, it's not the same magnitude as you think the game I'm going to be referencing, which is Game 4 against the Celtics in the finals. Not the same magnitude, not quite the same magnificence that Steph had in that game, but a lot of similarities where the Warriors are just stuck in the mud against just a defense that seemed to be overpowering them. Nobody outside of Steph could make a shot, get a clean look off. Just we were on our heels the entire time, and it just felt like one of those games where I texted my friends like end of the first quarter. I said, "Man, I don't think we're going to score 70 points in this game." I was upset. My wife said I was unpleasant, so I'm going to try to reel that in a bit. But it was one of those games where you're just hoping and praying that Steph can just keep you close enough and give yourself a chance to get unstuck from that mud. And that's exactly what he did. And it's just the style that he did it. It was, separating from two defenders at a time, fighting through tackles and grabs and hugs, and just making tough, unbalanced shots where not much else was flowing within the offense. And Steph just single-handedly willed the Warriors into the game in that first half. I think we went through like a 8 minute kind of between the end of the first quarter and second quarter drought with only one field goal as the Rockets pulled ahead to a double digit lead. I forget how much it got up to. I want to say close to 15 points at one point, but Steph, again, with very tough shot making, ended up closing the half in the last 6 minutes. I think 13 points, was able to bring the Warriors back to within three, which we would absolutely take given how that first half seemed to be trending. And it's just the lack of help, the difficulty of the shots, the pedigree of the defense he was facing, which is just sold out to stop him and just prevent him from getting anything clean. And he's able to piece together a 15-point half. And ultimately, in this game ends up with 36, 9, and 7. He had a steal, he had two blocks, he only had two turnovers, which when Steph's playing 41 minutes and only has two turnovers and just handling the load the way he does, you can just tell he's locked in. I think that one of his turnovers was on the first possession too when he airmailed Pajemski. So, scratch that, figure he gets settled into the game, and it was a thing of masterpiece. And even more impressive, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but especially in the late part of the game, like it didn't really ever seem like Steph was breathing too hard. And he was pushing 40 minutes at that time, and I'm looking at him, and he's like a light sweat going. He takes a breath or two here or there, but he seemed to be cruising, seemed to just outlast and be in better conditioning than all the Rockets and obviously all the Warriors on the court at the same time, and just head and shoulders just a better conditioned athlete than everyone else on the floor. And that's where you start to see him start to pull away like you would see someone at the end of a marathon race, and they just have more in the gas tank. They're able to get more separation. He's able to get clean looks and then also has the legs to knock down tough shots and finish the game. I thought he was spectacular in that third quarter when that game was very much in the balance. He had on a little run kind of early to mid third quarter where, drives to his left, gets in the lane, kind of hits a little like 6, 7 foot mid ranger as he gets fouled. Then out of bounds play, I think there's only like 3 seconds to get the ball in and get a shot up. Just kind of, pauses, takes the patience with and Vliet draped over his back, and as the ball's inbounded, uses a baseline screen and then a pin down, finds a way to shoot and get into a three. Huge shot at that point, and then next possession or two down, just hey GP2, give me the ball, give me the ball. Couple bam bam, couple crossovers, finds his way into just a nasty step back midi where he's just kind of throwing on the brakes, going to his left, behind the back dribble from left to right, which is even more difficult, kind of dribbling, that left to the right because your shoulders aren't squared. Jabari Smith basically just, is erased from the play and just kind of stumbling backwards, and then just Steph just nothing but net on the midi there. So it just kind of showed how much the chef was in his zone and just cooking throughout this entire game. So I just thought Steph was fantastic. Looks to be spry. We knew that with Jimmy out, Steph was going to have to shoulder the load. The Rockets knew that. Everyone in the world knew that. And there's just nothing you can do. There is no Steph stopper. There is no Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, who fouled out. There's nothing you can do. You can throw two guys at him. You can throw your best two at him. It doesn't really matter. When Chef is on, nothing you can do to stop the cook. Going back kind of to the beginning of this one. So obviously Jimmy Butler, a late decision to not play. Sounds like he gave it a run through. It does sound like if this was a later series game or just a must-win elimination game, he would have given it a go, but the training staff just didn't think he was moving great, still had a little hitch in his giddy up, so he could have gutted it out, but in the long run, it's better that he gets healthy, and it sounds like he should be fine for Monday, pending a lot of other variables, but, best case scenario is that Jimmy was able to get the rest, not be compromised, because you just never know what can happen when you're playing a little 80 75% even. You could fall on it again, you could be favoring it and something else starts to tweak. You just don't know what's going to happen. He could just be ineffective, and now you've just wasted him and pushed through it and lost anyways. So Warriors get a win. Jimmy gets his rest, not even on that pelvic bruise, but he gets rest on those legs because he's been logging big minutes lately, and he's essentially able to, let's see, the last time he played a full game was what, last Sunday, right? Because he got Monday, Tuesday off, played a couple minutes on Wednesday, got Thursday, Friday off, didn't play Saturday. So yeah, you're giving him a full week of rest. I think a total of 8 days since he's really played a full game. So those legs, everything in general should be nice and fresh, assuming that Bruce can kind of loosen up on him. And, with the starting lineup, so we didn't know what direction we'd head with Jimmy Butler out. Steve Kerr decides to go Kuminga. I don't think anyone really had an opinion on it at that point. It's just you hope for the best, but man, you just hope Kuminga, a lot of weight on his shoulders, figured this game was going to go as Kuminga did. And that wasn't the case. Kuminga was okay. He wasn't great. I think, what was he? I think he had he was uneventful, which is good enough given that you're risking a huge defensive gap, especially because you're starting him alongside Quinton Post, who hadn't started in a bit. You're playing two guys that are a little compromised on defense. And you know what? The Warriors held up. The defense held up. The defense was fantastic in this one, led by Draymond. Held the Rockets to 93 points, despite Rockets actually really jumping out to a quick start with Van Vliet hitting 2-3 really difficult shots. I swear every time Brooks and Van Vliet score, it's just really that's not a good shot, but sometimes it goes in. Like we thought, Jalen Green cooled off a lot. And I thought, honestly, the Warriors defense did a great job kind of rallying, protecting the hoop, keeping the Rockets out of the paint, mixed in a little bit of zone when he needed to. But ultimately, I just thought Draymond Green was just amazing. He not only just kind of playing the mind games with Şengün, but just the defense on him and just keeping him limited, making him a non-factor in this. I think Şengün had 15 points, and it was, oh my God, let's see, 7 for 18 shooting, which, he was their engine. Without him scoring, and then obviously without Jalen Green, the Rockets just aren't going to get out of the mud themselves. Draymond had 2 steals, 3 blocks, and just a fantastic effort on the defensive side of the ball. He was everywhere, blowing up plays. When Draymond's locked in, it seems like he's just guarding 2 people at all times. And you worry that without Jimmy Butler there, and for everything that, that duo of Jimmy and Dre have been so good together, because Dre can go give help and know that Jimmy has his back behind him. How would that look without Jimmy? How would it look with Post logging significant minutes? Answer was, it looked pretty darn good. Draymond was that good, but especially the Warriors defense behind him as a team was that good. Kuminga held his own again, kind of not a positive, not a negative, good enough, just kind of given the size. And you can get away with it against this Rockets team, just knowing that they're just not the best offensive team. I don't think you're gonna be able to get away with that kind of a lineup against like a potentially an Anthony Edwards led T-Wolves team who just a moment ago went up 3-1 on the Lakers. So I mean, if you're like me, let's just kind of look at that and totally get ahead of ourselves for a second. But 3-1 means at worst, the worst case was I didn't want to play the Lakers, especially on rest. Yeah, you just the last person I want to play in the playoffs is LeBron James. Probably the second to last player I want to play against is Luka Doncic in the playoffs for obvious reasons. Yes, the Lakers have holes and the Warriors have good matchups against them, but worst case scenario now, if you do play the Lakers, they're going to be coming off 7 games. And if the Warriors can take care of business against the Rockets and get out of this series with some rest, huge advantage because the Lakers are basically in elimination mode for the next 3 games. They played their starting five the entire second half, and they looked gassed at the end of this, as did the Wolves. So, hey, I'm still rooting for the Wolves to just take care of business and knock the Lakers out of the playoffs. But either way, both teams are going to be pretty depleted. The Lakers are probably going to be knocked out, and the Wolves, hopefully, it's a good matchup for the Warriors. Took care of them well this season, and hopefully they have a decent amount of wear and tear on them as well. But nevertheless, Warriors set up pretty good as long as you can take care of business, staying focused back on our series against the Rockets because it is far from over. I thought defense aside, I just thought that Steve Kerr and the Warriors just did a great job and just seemed to be that much more prepared, willing to kind of pull the right levers and just make the right decisions. I don't necessarily have a great opinion on the starting lineup. It worked well enough. I thought best decision Kerr made was, hey, I've seen 17 minutes of Kuminga and it's not really working with the spacing. The offense was just stuck. Nothing was working. If Kuminga was in there for any reason, it was to get some points, and he just really didn't seem to be uh, yeah, he just didn't seem to be in an advantage anytime he had the ball. And, we know elsewhere, if he's not scoring, that's not a plus situation for the Warriors. But what Kerr did is he decided, hey, we can trust our defense to hold up against this Rockets team. I need some shooting. I need some spacing. We have to find a way to get everyone loose on offense because if we don't score any points, this 8, 9 point lead that the Rockets had at that time seems almost insurmountable, despite Steph Curry's heroics. But Quentin Post played 27 minutes. Buddy Hield played 29 minutes. Usually, I would say don't play Buddy Hield any minutes, but the fact that he was shooting well, had a couple turnovers, and was good enough on defense. If Buddy's going to be shooting well and giving you spacing, that is what you have to have in this matchup because the Rockets are too good defensively just to be allow them to pack into the zone and keep people out of the lane. And he saw the floor start to open up. He started seeing more back cuts available. He started seeing Steph have some room to get in the lane. And again, Quentin Post didn't do much on offense. I think he might have had 2 points. And with that, he still had one of the best games the Warriors had. He had 12 rebounds, which I thought the Warriors, the rebounding told the story of the game. They kept it within 6 on the rebounding margin, 51-45. Second half really kept the Rockets off the glass, kept them off the offensive glass, especially in that fourth quarter where I think aside from like that one possession where they missed a couple threes, got both rebounds, and then Dylan Brooks eventually hit a 3-pointer on that third chance. Aside from that, I actually don't even know if there was any more offensive rebounds that we surrendered, and that was a huge difference. On the flip side, Quentin Post, of his 12 rebounds, he got 3 offensive ones, and 2 of those led to huge threes, one from Curry, one from Buddy Hield, and Post had some good passes and just played fantastic defense against Houston, against multiple players. Here's the stat I found on Post in the game is that Houston was 37% when guarded by Post in this game. They were 6 of 16, and they were 3 of 9 from within 10 feet. So, yeah, he doesn't have much of a vert, and he's still kind of learning the footwork and kind of positioning, but just being that big and, knowing to be in good enough position, he deterred, 6 shots that were within 10 feet. And, those should be over 50% shots for most teams. So, yeah, you're saving our team 4, 5, 6 points just by having a defensive presence in that lane. And then on the flip side, obviously, you're providing spacing. Didn't shoot great. you can argue how much spacing that provides, but moved the ball well, had a nice assist or two, including one to Kuminga at one point. Post just logged huge minutes against the big bodies of the Rockets, where, yeah, Draymond played great. Looney was solid, but having that third guy who can play big center minutes frees up Draymond to go out and just be a wrecking ball at that power forward position and give help elsewhere on the perimeter. It has unlocked so many lineups, including letting Kuminga play a little bit, including letting GP2 play a bit now that you have more shooting surrounding, which leads me to the man of the last hour of the game, GP2. I didn't know exactly what we were going to get from him in this series, being that we didn't really have a huge need for a point of attack defender. Yeah, Jalen Green, when he's on, GP2 is kind of using that role. But, with Van Vliet and just the kind of guard play that you're seeing with the Rockets, it's like, hey, do we really need GP2 out there for his defense? The answer is maybe not, but we could use him for his offense, particularly paired with Steph Curry, and that when they're blitzing Steph, I mean, other than Draymond, I mean, almost nobody's better in that short rolling action where, he basically GP2 brings his man in, sets a screen or even just kind of a ghost screen and then slips out of it just to kind of give himself some space where Steph's getting trapped at half court. And now GP2 has a running start heading downhill 4-on-3 where he is an above average finisher at the hoop, especially heading to his left. He can pass out of it as well and just makes good decisions and is honestly one of our best wings in terms of being able to see the floor and make good passes. Again, not with a great handle, but when he's off the dribble, he's a better passer than like a Buddy Hield, better than a Jonathan Kuminga, better than a Moses Moody kind of coming off action. And that's why you can use GP2 in that role, setting screens for Steph. GP2 will usually have a big on him as well. So you're kind of bringing that big away from the hoop. And then, the last thing with GP2 is, hey, if you're going to be knocking down threes like you have the last couple months of the season, now you are providing found money, and every single one of those threes is just so huge for the Warriors because he's going to get that anytime he wants. If you're going to bring the teams out to guard him and take away that three, go for it. That much more spacing, and now you're actually doing the Warriors an even bigger favor by providing spacing. So anytime he catches, you see him, he takes his time, he looks down, laces up the ball. It's kind of the difference that I've seen a lot of his shooting. He actually has the time to look down and line up his fingers, and then he's just been delivering and from multiple spots around the arc. GP2, let's see, in the last, I think, God, what was it, last 6-7 minutes of the game, he had 11 points. For the game, he's 7 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from three. Again, that's found money. There is a sequence where essentially, he short rolls, gets to the hoop, finishes. Next sequence, same exact play, doesn't finish at the hoop, just barely missed it, but that's okay. Then next possession down, I think we are still only up one at this point. Curry kind of attacks. I don't know if he's out of control or what, but ends up doing a little pirouette, 360, finds Gary in the corner, knocks down the three to go up four. And then the next possession, which Steph won't even get credit for, but Steph sets a little back screen, draws 2-3 defenders, and GP2 just kind of slips back door for a dunk, go up six. And that was as close as the game would be from there. So I thought, towards the end of the game, just using the gravity against Steph, using one of the guys that has paired so well with Steph throughout the course of both their careers, and knowing that, hey, like, it doesn't have to just be Steph in isolation, and if he's getting blitzed, we have a lot of release valves, more than just a Draymond, and somebody that can finish a bit better than Draymond at the hoop in GP2. And I'm just going through a thought experiment right now. Who would you rather have shooting a wide open three between GP2 and Draymond Green? I guess at the moment, GP2. In a larger sample size, geez, I don't even know. That's pretty close, actually. I'll stay away from it now because they're both going to hit big shots down the stretch in this playoff run. Okay, well, that's about all I have for game three. Like I predicted, the Warriors come out. Steph is heroic. He is Batman. Warriors win fairly comfortably, although it wasn't comfortable throughout most of the game. I thought Jimmy Butler would play, but he didn't, and now he should be nice and fresh for Monday. But I did think that the Warriors crowd was going to show up, and I am proud of the crowd for just kind of little throwback Roracle. They all had their yellow shirts on. Most people wore their shirts. Guys, if you go to the game, wear the shirts and make sure anyone else in the section is wearing the shirts. You got to do it, guys. It's just the way it works. All right. I guess we'll just talk after Monday. Let's hope Jimmy's back. Let's hope we can get back into some the rotations that we know. It was great to get away and try to, try out some new rotations and have success. We have to win this game. Don't want the Rockets to win this, and all of a sudden now you find yourself back losing home court advantage in an even series, going to a super rowdy Houston crowd on one day's rest. So take care of business. Just because Jimmy's back does not give you any reason to let up at all. Do not get complacent with this win. You won that one. Could even say you almost stole this one with Jimmy gone, although you're at home. Have the same mentality. You're hungry and you're not going to let Houston back in this game. Get the lead, go up 3-1, and then let's fight to get some rest and get out of this series early because too many bumps and bruises, and this is just such a chippy series. Home court advantage every game is huge. All the bumps and bruises every minute you're playing on the court with Houston is risky. So let's get in, let's get out, and let's get it done, fellas. All right, if you haven't yet, like, subscribe, share this with who you like because we are covering Dubs the rest of the way, and hopefully we have many more games to go. 2 down, 14 to go. Until next time, I've been Chris Chin. Peace, love, and stacking dubs.